by the river.
Doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I'd take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli. And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to the special edition of DOOP by the River with the hectic week that is the Union schedule. We're going to first break down the beginning part of our week as the Philadelphia Union prepare for their first U.S. Open Cup matchup this upcoming Tuesday. So, of course, to prepare for Minnesota, as we always do, we're going to give you the eyes from the other side. So, please, without further ado, welcome on into today's edition. Mark Fangmeier, he is from the 55-1 podcast covering all things Minnesota United, Minnesota soccer in general. Mark, my friend, how you feeling, brother? Welcome on in.
Oh, so great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, man. How's it chilling up there? Is it cold still up in Minnesota? How's the weather these days?
No, like today was like one of the first like beautiful kind of days. Like it was like 75 and sunny, and the brewery 4 blocks from our house had like this giant party in the parking lot. It was fantastic.
That sounds like a great day myself. So we should be expecting some good weather on Tuesday night then.
Yeah, no, I mean it'll probably turn the day before, like literally like Saturday night, it was like cold and like wearing a flannel and a jacket. So it's like it all depends. But like, yeah, you never know. Like we haven't really had a nice night at Allianz Field for like a soccer match yet this season. Like we had like a streak of like 80-degree days, and then suddenly it was like 35 and like raining for like the match like 2 days later. So yeah, who knows what it'll be in.
Well, you know Allianz will always be synonymous for the US was it the friendly that they had, or the
no, it was like World Cup qualifying against Honduras. Like, I mean, honestly, like
watching that.
How do you make Hondurans play in 5 below weather in shorts? Like, I mean, they did have like, it was so funny. Like even like they're like, oh yeah, like the team doctor said that they like there were at least 5 players that had hypothermia. I was like, well, they didn't have hypothermia because they didn't lose a limb. They're fine, but they're just really cold and they just don't know what being cold feels like.
Oh my God, that's freaking ridiculous. Well, how's 55-1 pod? How are the guys over there?
It's good. Like, yeah, we're we kind of took a like. Previously, we've been like doing like weekly stuff. Like we kind of gone to like more like just like every few weeks, just when we feel like recording, put something out, whatever. So yeah, it's been great and like it's awesome, and it's kind of fun to take a little step back and be more of a fan and less of a commentator.
Yeah,
everything Minnesota. So it's been great. But yeah, I mean, with that said, I have so much pent up aggression of things to say that I haven't been able to say on a podcast. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you because that's what we need you here for. But I wanted to start off by saying I am a fan of these new kits that you guys have for the season. I think is it the away kit that you guys have?
Yeah, they're the Northern Lights kit. They're not officially called that, but like that's pretty much what they're called. It's gorgeous how it's like white and then it kind of just like fills in with the color. Yeah, it's pretty great. Like they kind of knocked that one out of the park. So.
They're slowly starting to with that throughout the league. Like we're kind of far away from that than my white tee.
Oh guys, was that like 4 years ago where every single team had a white T-shirt? They're like, oh well, we need some consistency in the league, and this is how we're gonna do it. I was like, oh god, it's just awful.
We're heading in the right direction. That's
I know. And I think what did they call? I don't even remember what stupid name Minnesota gave it. Like, of course, it was like snow related of some sort, but like it was just terrible.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about this Minnesota United team that you love here. So right now, focusing on the MLS play, of course, first. In MLS play, 8th in the Western Conference, 3 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses. So you guys are around that 500 type of soccer club. So obviously Luis Amaria also is your leading scorer too. So kind of what is really the difference from last year's team to this year's team for Minnesota?
I mean. The elephant in the room is there's no Ray.
Right. We'll talk about that in a second because I'm sure we got to talk about that.
I mean, it's unfortunate. Like they and it's been weird. Like going into the season, everyone pretty much expected them to be kind of where they're playing now. In that, like no one expected them to be good. And then in the first 4 matches of the season, they won. A bunch of road games. They were out. They weren't just like. Our defense was one of the top 4 defenses in the league when we first started the season, and we were outperforming our expected goals against, like in a huge way. And then also our offense was somehow like they weren't creating too many opportunities, but they were still outperforming. Like our expected goals would be like 0.5, and we'd get like, a goal or two a game. And so like it was working, but everything eventually, works back to the mean over a long period of time. And that's kind of what's been happening recently. I don't think we've won in the last like 4 or 5 matches. We just lost to Vancouver last night, which Vancouver's been playing great. Like, but actually I think their last goal, the last time they gave up a goal was against us, and then we scored again. So they broke their streak of like 400 some minutes of goals. But like, they've been playing great. But like, still, like our team is just, our defense was playing world class. Not world class, MLS top 4. Like, let's be real here. But they were playing great, and Dane St. Clair was playing great in goal. Like, everything was working. It's just without Ray, we had nobody creating any kind of scoring opportunities, and we were just trying to like. And then Adrian Heath is pretty like stuck in his ways about like he loves his 4-2-3-1, which that is great when you have a fantastic number 10 who can create the opportunities in that formation. But when you don't have that, when Ray's gone, he was just trying to put whoever could play in the number 10 role, and we just don't have a creator, and we just weren't having any offense, and we had no and the few opportunities we were making. I mean, Amaria hasn't scored from the run of play yet. He's our leading scorer. He has 2 PK goals, but he hasn't scored in the run of play in MLS play, and he's been struggling. Mender Garcia has been struggling, who's our other DP striker. We're just struggling. We just need some sort of like boost in the offense. And supposedly as of yesterday, they announced he's back in Minnesota.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it's still,
scoring's the problem so far. It sounds like in Minnesota.
Oh, totally has been the problem. And Minnesota's always kind of struggled recently with finishing. Like, we just don't have those like natural, like, just like fox in the box kind of guys who are just like can like take an opportunity and just put it away. And so we've always kind of struggled with finishing, and it's just coming back to hurt us even more so now that we're also struggling with creating opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys have had some like DPs that like have been known to score, but like, like you say, like offensively, you guys have never been like, type of team to put up like 5 goals in a match, and it is always tough. It's funny hearing you talk about Minnesota and their attack woes, because we obviously have our issues starting off the season. Haven't really been scoring in bunches, kind of like what we did last year. You bow out in Champions League when all you really needed was some away goals, and you couldn't even do that. And it's funny you bring up Heath, because this past week there was a lot of curtain out throughout Union Nation, and when you have a coach for so long, sometimes they do the same thing over and over again, and it gets infuriating. For me personally, the one thing that infuriates me is the lack of rotation with the Union, and that's kind of what we haven't really seen. You go in the offseason, you bring in Torres, Lowe, and Pereira, and you really haven't seen them much. So I completely feel you there, man. But maybe that's a recipe for Tuesday. Obviously, we'll see what the rotation is for both sides, but maybe both guys can get it going in U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, I'll be very curious about Tuesday, just because, like I said, like I've read a lot of the stuff about like the criticism about the lack of rotation, especially with like how compact with like CCL and how compact it's been, and like with the U.S. Open Cup, whatever. Like, it's just, there's a lot, and I'll be curious to see if Curtin rotates his squad. I'll be curious if Adrian Heath goes the opposite route and just doesn't. And it's just like, we're just gonna play to win and like see what happens. Like, which I'm not gonna be mad about. Like, I love going all in on U.S. Open Cup. It's such a fun tournament. Like, it is. It's single elimination the whole way. It's fun. I love them taking it seriously. Like, I mean, I remember flying down. Was that 20?
Yeah, you guys made the final, right?
Yeah. I flew down to Atlanta for the U.S. Open Cup finals. It was fantastic. Like, I love going all in on it because it's such a fun kind of tournament. I mean, I get that it's not a moneymaker for like MLS teams, so there's not really the incentive to go all in on it. But for fans, it's so fantastic.
Yeah. I'm more so like, if we have a shot, let's go all in. But I mean, my priority has always been MLS Cup and then CCL or CCL. They're kind of like 1A, 1B. But no, if you have a shot, 100% definitely go for it. think the last time was like 2018. We really legitimately had a shot in US Open Cup. We went and made it all the way to the final. But now you're 100% right, and especially like if you're a team that, listen, I mean, you're a little bit far behind. You have a chance in US Open Cup though. Go definitely go all in on it. But I wanted to ask you real quick about Reynoso, the situation. Obviously, big loss for you guys, but obviously the story in general is kind of crazy. So you kind of just talk to us about the situation as best as you can with Reynoso and kind of what his return means to Minnesota.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was expected to join the team in, January in training camp, as all players do. He didn't show up. Now and then there's always like, oh, he'll be here soon. He'll be here soon. Like, and like the first week, like we had like a number of like 3 or 4 players that didn't show up for the first week. There's different family stuff, whatever. Like, that's fine, like normal, like that happens. But then just went on and on and on. And then there were reports that like basically he hadn't really communicated with anybody at the club for more than like a couple like sentences, like in an email or something. Like there was just very little communication between him and his representatives and the club. And I guess it all kind of stems back December of 2021 when he was home in Argentina in between seasons. Allegedly, he went out with some of his buddies from back home. There was some sort of an altercation, robbery, something, and allegedly he pistol whipped a 17-year-old. And so that happened in December. He spent a couple weeks in jail, was out on bond, and the whole time everyone's like, "Oh no, it's cool, everything's settled, it's cool." And then December of this year, so a year later, so December 2022, going into the preseason, there was like a report that he might be going to trial for it finally, but no one really confirmed anything, and it's all weird too. And also it's just also weird too because it's the Argentinian justice system also with a soccer star, so that just creates all kinds of other things in it too, of like some people would get special treatment if you're a soccer star in Argentina versus whatnot. And so like there's all kinds of weird things going in. So there's like, all kinds of stuff like, well, maybe he's stuck. Maybe he can't leave. Like maybe he's actually stuck there like with an immigration thing. Like he has like can't leave, but apparently that was not the case. And just recently, Mark Watson, our technical director, went down and I guess was down in Buenos Aires and had a like multi-hour conversation with him and eventually got him to come, like as of this weekend, fly back to Minnesota, and I guess is in Minnesota now. The report was recently from the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Andy Grader, who covers the team, said that he was concerned. He had some family issues, but was also concerned about leaving with the potential of a trial hanging over him in Argentina. So who knows what's going on? But now he's also 4 months. He hasn't played competitively in 6 or 7 months, and has missed 4 months of training with the rest of the team. So who knows what he'll be like when he gets back either?
Oh my God, so no one knows what kind of fitness he's kind of in right now.
No.
So the possibility tomorrow is really slim.
Oh,
Tuesday,
and actually, I think it's 0 at this point,
Okay.
because MLS. I think he's still officially like suspended by MLS
because of the situation.
because of everything. Because they had to suspend his payment and everything. Like, he didn't show up for work, so he doesn't get paid. So like, I don't think that issue has been quite worked out yet. And so the statement the team put out is that like he's still barred from all team activities. So
wow. So like realistically, what does this affect this season then? He's got to get back into shape and then get integrated with the squad. And
yeah, and also like I can only imagine like the chemistry on that team now.
Right.
Like when you have a guy who doesn't show up for 4 months and then just comes in, like, and who knows, like I said, like who knows what kind of shape he's in, his fitness, whatever, all of a sudden just shows up. Like, imagine you're one of the guys who's like fighting for a starting job and been working your ass off for the whole, like, since January. Like, how are you going to look at this guy coming into your team? Like, and it's not like they definitely need him for chance creating, but like they've worked their tails off to like stay middle of the pack with a pretty much very medium, like low end attacking team, like, and they've worked, and like their defense has worked their ass off to do it. And so like I'm just curious how he'll be accepted in the squad generally.
So I mean, like for the attack though, like do you think Minnesota would add on considering what's going on with Reynoso in the summertime?
I don't know. Who know? Unfortunately, like because of everything that happened, I don't think there's a market for Reynoso right now. Like I would love for them to try to sell him and just be done with it and get someone in who wants to be here. But I mean, who knows? Like what team is going to want to pay anything for him right now? And he just signed a 3-year contract extension last summer, so they're under contract for a while with him too. So I don't know what's going to happen. Like, ideally for me, I would love to see him sell him and just move on and just try to find another guy and just do what you can do and just keep the team going. But yeah, we'll see.
Right, absolutely. Well, I have seen a lot of hype from Minnesota's fan base of Jong Changbin, the 21-year-old South Korean there. So what is this hype for Changbin here?
He's man, we kind of finally got a true glimpse of him in the second half against Vancouver last night. In that, like I said, like with Ray being gone, and then Heath kind of being very kind of sticking with his 4-2-3-1, he's been playing him as a number 10, which his whole experience has been as a striker, center forward. So having him come in and like trying to be the person that's creating opportunities for other players isn't him. And he's wicked fast. Like if you just see him, like if he goes on the sideline, he's just like zipping past defenders. And even on the goal last night, like Robin Lod had a great pass to him through the middle of cutting into the middle of the 18-yard box, but he just split the defenders and just took off and like had a great first touch, put it away. And like, you can see that. And like, we just need him to be played as our striker instead of playing as a number 10. And I think, that will take care of itself. And he's only like 22 years old. He's fantastic. I believe he's his nickname is the Korean Messi. So
there you go. We got Medford Messi over here, who's now with Leeds United, and then now we got the Korean Messi. I like that. But let's move on to U.S. Open Cup, because obviously you guys already have played in U.S. Open Cup this season, beating Detroit 3-1 earlier in the tourney. But what is the expectation for Minnesota in this U.S. Open Cup edition?
See, I don't know. Like, it all depends on how seriously Adrian Heath takes it. And like, again, like it's tricky because as you guys know, like just the amount of matches this season is just going to be ridiculous. And so the thing that kind of scares us as Minnesota United supporters is like last year we bombed out of it when we lost to Omaha at home. And it was very much a rotated squad. Like Wilt Trapp was in the stands, like Ray was in the stand. Like we had players that could have dressed, but didn't even dress them for the matches. And it felt, our first US Open match this year felt kind of similar in that Detroit came out early, scored early, and going into halftime, Detroit was up 1-0 at home. And it kind of felt like a very similar vibe. Like we just weren't doing anything. Like our offense wasn't clicking. We were a heavily rotated squad, which I mean, you would expect playing against, a USL team. It should be heavily rotated. But it just felt like another like kind of kick, like punch in the gut type game like that Omaha match did last year. And then lo and behold, they scored 3 goals in 10 minutes in the second half and just turned the whole thing around and just went off and won it. And it was great. And so like, we'll see. Like, I have no idea what to expect. And I mean, again, it's kind of up to Jim Curtin. If he rotates his squad a bunch and we don't, we'll see what happens. But also, who knows? Like, yeah, again, who knows? Like, who knows who's going to come out and attack for us? Like, and do something and produce something. It could be maybe it'll be just a terrible 0-0 draw that goes into PKs, and that could be the match. Like, who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting because last season we kind of, I wouldn't say took it lightly, but we rotated. I mean, we put up a lot of our young kids, but the thought is that these kids are prepared to play in those type of situations, and Orlando put some of their big guns in there. So I'm intrigued too. I do believe Jesus Bueno will start from what Jim said. So I kind of would read into that be a lot of rotation going on in that matchup. But with that said, let's predict what could the lineups look like for Minnesota on Tuesday night. So what do you think Adrian Heath would go with on Tuesday night for Minnesota?
I mean, I think he's going to rotate. I mean, fairly certain he's going to rotate. And it'll probably be kind of similar to what they did against Detroit. So it'll be, Clint Irwin instead of Dane St. Clair in goal. It'll be, probably Brent Coleman instead of Michael Boxall at center forward. Maybe rotate. Valentin will come in for one of the fullbacks, probably Kamar Lawrence. And then, the center of the pitch, it all depends who's healthy. I mean, it'll probably be like, Hassani Dotson and maybe Rosales in the center of the pitch in the midfield. And then the attack is anybody's guess. Like, it could be, Dunbar, Mender Garcia. I mean, Franco Frangipani hasn't been playing a whole lot recently as far as starting goes, so maybe he'll be in there. And then who's up at center forward? I have no idea. So we'll find out. But I think that'll probably be a thing. And then, one thing that Adrian Heath has been doing, at least this is what he did against Detroit, is that he'll start off with like a rotated starting lineup, and then if changes need to be made, he does it pretty quickly in the second half and brings in the bigger guns in the second half right away to try to clean stuff up. So we'll see. But yeah, and also it all depends on how great or terrible things start off in the first half. Like, we haven't been a great team. We haven't been a strong starting team recently. We're we kind of been struggling the first 20 minutes. So if Philadelphia has a chance to attack us pretty hard, that's all, it's balls in their court on that one. They could just take the match away from us if they want to.
That's what I'll be looking forward to as well. All right, Mark, give us the final prediction. What do you think will happen on Tuesday night?
I think just based, Minnesota also hasn't won a match at home yet this season. So yeah. So, I don't have the highest of expectations for this match. So I'm going to say it's going to be, Philly 2-0.
Philly 2-0. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to be intrigued. We'll see. If we can make a little run in US Open Cup, I feel like that would put the fans back in a better place, but we'll see, man. I just want to get this attack going. I want to get them back to not necessarily scoring 5-7-0, but there's been some issues in the final third, so that's really what I'll be looking forward to. But we'll take care of that in the US Open Cup, or in MLS Play. But Mark, really appreciate you coming in here, man.
Yeah.
Let the people know where they could find the great work, the 55-1 podcast, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's 551 Pod. Wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on Twitter. I'm MR Fangmeier if you want to hear my rantings on Twitter about the team. So yeah, that's about it.
So we love to see. Mark. Mark, you enjoyed the match on Tuesday. Thank you so much, guys, for checking on in. We'll check you guys out on the next one. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, I go by the name of El Parcero Philly, and that is Mark.